I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, August 10th regular meeting for the Springfield Board of Education. Ashley, please take the roll.
Mrs. Bros.
Here.
Mrs. Bendel. Here. Mrs. Garvey.
Here.
Mrs. Miller. Here. Dr. Schlepper.
Here.
If you all join me, so you can please flag. To the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to make a motion for the approval of minutes from the July 13th and July 20th meetings. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Does anyone have any discussion? Seeing none. Ashley, please take the roll.
Mrs. Bros.
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yeah.
Dr. Schlepper.
Yes.
At this point, I will turn the meeting over to Lori for the policy committee.
Okay, we had a policy committee meeting, very short, early last week about the switch to Neola, where official contracts are signed, we're going forward. It's all very exciting, except for the amount of work it's going to entail, which is less exciting. We are meeting tomorrow to get trained on how to actually, Mike is going to set up the screen set up for us, and we're actually going to start the process of blocking out, looking at the different walking through, so we have super publishers and we can go ahead and move forward with that. Looking at the different template options. It is, we're shooting for, we're still working through with Ashley on the best ways to present it to the board for comment, how we can present it to for comment. We're thinking maybe a first reading in phases as we move through. And then Robert and I've talked about bringing in to the drafting sessions, like swapping one of us out if there's an area where somebody else on the board has particular expertise, like maybe, you know, Catherine for safety, or, you know, for or Lauren, or, you know, wherever we have a situation where somebody really knows those documents or is closely involved with that particular section of policy. We're going to try to we got a copy, which I can share with anybody who's interested, of the comparison from OSBA. We talked about, do we want to go through OSBA, look at what they did and look at how it's different with what Neola offers, which, to be comfortable with the change, I think we want to do. The problem is the groupings of the sections do not line up particularly well. So they did provide us with I think it's 2016 is the last time they did it, but we do have a comparison chart so we can look from OSBA to Neola. So tomorrow we'll kick that off. But the plan right now is we'll present a block of policies for first reading, and then we won't do the second reading until we've got the entire thing done, because we can't switch them out and do half Neola, half OSBA. We really need to have the whole thing ready to go. And we're looking at a February date to try to finish the policy work. Then we're going to work through the admin sections, unless we have an admin section that is particularly key to the policy section, and then we'll probably do it at the same time, so we're not doing a bunch of rework. And this is going to fall probably most heavily on pupil services. So Jen will be really heavily involved in all the drafting. And I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions about how that works or suggestions? Because and all of this is like, we're gonna have to revisit it. I'll probably be talking about it at every meeting, and we're gonna have to tweak it so that we can get feedback, get it out there, you know, make sure we have a document at the end that we're really happy with.
There are ways without creating extra work to just prior to your meeting get an index of what policies are going to be covered. That way we can identify. Oh,
That's a good idea.
I'm familiar with this, and this, just so you know, and then I can give it a first reading.
Yeah, because what we'd like, that's a good idea, because what we'd like to do is come to the meeting for the first reading and have it not turn into a drafting session. Because if we're all trying to draft it, that's at the meetings, that's tough. We want to make sure everybody's seen it in advance. And then we're talking about, we do as much movement with staff and with people contributing. So then we're getting feedback here. And then by second reading, we're done, but it's a neat process.
And the representative from Neola won't be at a work session, or will be at a.
I'm sure he could come. He's going to be there tomorrow. I'm sure if we needed him to come to a session, he's going to be available with questions, where multiple people will be super publishers. So so Jen will have that, Jen's coming to the meeting, Ashley, Jennifer, everyone's, and Jennifer's got a ton of experience with this from using it at Kenton, so that's hugely helpful. So I think a lot of this is gonna fall on Jennifer and Jen. But that's a great idea to
Well,
get you an
yeah,
index. So then at least you can say, because then you could swap in for the drafting. Right. Right, or we could say, do you want to come to this particular drafting session instead of me or instead of, yeah, I think it's a great idea. So any of those thoughts you have about process, and I'll have a better idea tomorrow about exactly how the cutting and pasting and what the templates look like and that kind of thing. But any thoughts you have, please shoot me an email, give me a call, or we can talk about it at the next meeting.
All right, thank you. The strategic planning committee met a week ago from 9 to 3. It was about, I don't know, 20 of us. It was a great meeting. We had Denise there and Lauren was there with me, so Lauren please chime in. Yeah. Most of what we talked about was what the process was going to look like, and the DLT and different. Denise has done work with different parts of the whole, and so there was updating around what work has already been done and where we're planning to take this. One action item that came out of it was developing process to invite people to continue to participate, because we know that critical to success is hearing from staff, parents, families, students, community members. So we're going to have 3 inquiry groups, and there's a limited number that we can have in each of those inquiry groups and still have them be effective dialogues. So we're creating a system in order to invite people to participate, which there'll be more information on probably in the next week. And we are on time for hopefully having something to be presented to the board early in the spring that the administration could then take over the course of the summer and develop an action plan that aligns with their goal setting. Any questions? No? All right. Moving on to agenda item 3, the board and administration have decided to pilot the communication committee in response to a lot of feedback that we've heard over the course of the last year, and that we've been cognizant of with regards to all the channels with which our parents want us to communicate on. And now we are rolling out a new website, or have rolled out a new website, and we want that to be the hub of information, but we still believe that there's opportunity to improve the structure of how we're communicating, what we're communicating, when, who's it coming from, and the transparency so that families better understand that. One of the examples that we gave, I had a preliminary meeting with Jennifer and Mike and Charlene, and Lauren is going to be on the committee as well, but she was not at that meeting. But one of the examples we gave is, right now, if you have 3 students in our district, you're getting newsletters sometimes from 3 different buildings, you're getting an announcement from the superintendent. You're not sure if it's something like, celebrating that one of our students has had just this huge success, or if it's something that, there's a snow day coming up and you need to know right now how that's going to be handled. So trying to do a better job of setting a structure in place that makes all of that flow more easily for our families is really one of the initial goals of the committee. Any questions? I realize I said we are starting a communication committee pilot. We would like to start a communication committee pilot. Lauren and I had a conversation of let's meet with Jennifer and Mike and Charlene and see if we're all on the same page about where we see the opportunity and where we'd like it to go. So if anybody on the board doesn't think that that's a good idea, we could still, have a conversation around that. But I'd like to see it move forward. The reason why it would be a pilot is that all of our board committees are typically set up in January, and then board liaisons are identified in January. So this gives us a few months to figure out if it's really valuable and something we want to do on a continuing basis.
Is it a board committee or is it
Sorry, it would be a superintendent.
Okay.
Well, the DAC, the District Advisory Committee, because we just took superintendent committees and wanted to showcase that we're inviting different stakeholders, so. And we thought the timing was relevant because the website is being released. I knew changing my seat, Larry.
Lauren has great feedback, as we all know, for her ideas. And she's very well connected to people in the community who I think can also be of help with this. And I think she has relationships with parents that also have a set of expectations that she can help convey. That said, if there's someone else besides who would like to take my seat on the committee, I'm happy to have that conversation. I just also have a particular interest in it because of my marketing background. And
I think it's a wonderful job for you, Sharon.
all right. Okay, well then moving on, I will turn the meeting over to Jennifer for our superintendent reports.
We just have a couple items tonight. The first one, you have probably already seen in the headlines, which was the OFCC round 2 funding, and this was focused around school safety. So the district applied for the first round for the OFCC funding in December of 2021. And although we weren't afforded funding for the first round, in the second round, we received $177,620.28.
We
And
will receive.
Will receive. So, and how that will be divided up will be that the high school, middle school, and Gurney will receive $50,000 each. And the intermediate school would receive $27,620.28. So, where this will go and how this has been planned for is when we did the grant for the original application process, it included a vulnerability assessment at each school site conducted by our SRO, which is a school resource officer, Mike Baldwin, as well as describing how the prospective grant funds would be used to integrate the school's organizational preparedness into a broader state and local preparedness. So the school principals were all involved and they helped in the planning process, including Mike Doherty, who is our tech director, and we have already mentioned Mike Baldwin. And both Chief Rizzo and Chief Dasick were involved by providing letters of support for the district. So the grant itself will be used for such things as physical access control systems, cameras, security cameras, camera software, outside barriers, portable radios, and the funds will help offset future permanent improvement capital project expenses that were going to be needed and required for upcoming years.
That's great.
Be great for our district. The second thing on the agenda tonight from my report would be I asked Mike Doherty to showcase the new website that was released a couple weeks ago now, I think.
Let's see if I can do this. If I can drive and hold a mic at the same time. All right. There's this coming through. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all for giving me the opportunity to walk through the new website. As Dr. Penzarski stated, new website went live going on about 3 weeks ago now. The project itself has been going on behind the scenes for almost a year. Myself and Charlene, who is watching from home, have spent a lot of time working through this. Really focusing on making it easier to navigate and just a better overall experience for our users. As you've heard, the previous website was great. We had it for about 6 years, but it was difficult to navigate. We heard that a lot from our community. So what we tried to do was really focus on how can we make things super easy to find. So one of the first things I want to highlight is up in the upper right-hand corner. Every school page, as well as the main district page, has a menu option. That menu is filled with things pertinent either to the district or to the school. And it's all driven based on statistics from the previous website. So if we look under how to, for example, how to view the 22-23 school calendar, The school calendar was one of the most clicked links on the previous website every year going forward, or every year in the past. So we tried to make it super easy to find going forward. How to subscribe to the district email, how to access Infinite Campus, pay your school fees. All of these things that parents are looking for, we really tried to bring those front and center. Next to that, you see the Resource Center. These are oftentimes our links out to other areas, everything from CAA, the Academy of Performing Arts, different areas that our community was looking for. Again, all of this being driven by statistics from the previous website. Along the top, we have what we call our touts, which also makes it super easy to find things. So for example, if I want to find the staff directory, I click here on staff, and I can see everybody in the district. On the right-hand side, I can choose to see only people in a particular building. I can also search, which I'm not going to go ahead and do, but there's a search button over here on the left-hand side. If you ever get lost, one of the other things we found on the website was sometimes you kind of fell down a rabbit hole and it was hard to get back to where you're going. If you ever get lost, upper right-hand corner, district home, I can't see my mouse. The district homepage button will take you right back to where you began. So again, just trying to make it easy, friendly for our folks to navigate. On the main page, if I scroll down a little bit, we have all of our important news stories on the left-hand side. So each building will showcase 4 of the most recent news stories. You can click in there to read more. But then on the right side, we also have what we call our live feed, which is where a lot of our social media stuff takes place. So things that we post on Facebook, Twitter, things that, whether it's myself, Charlene, teachers, those kind of things can be found in live feed. So news are your typical news stories that you're seeing that you're looking for about, again, launching the new website or the cameras on the buses, whereas the live feed is more things that are going on a daily basis in the schools. So we kind of try to marry those two together, again, trying to have a hub where all of our communications came from. Scrolling down a little more, we have an all-new events calendar. Again, we heard from the public that trying to find things on the previous website in terms of what was going on a day-to-day basis was difficult. So on the main page, it just shows the events that are most recent up and coming for the district. If I were to click into the schools, you would see that as well. But what's awesome is if I go to see all events, it's really hard to see my mouse. I can get a view very easily across the district. So if I want to see what's going on in September, I take one quick look. And I have a list of things going on. Very, very, very easy to see, easy to find events. Again, if I want to go back, and go back to the homepage. At the very bottom, we have our list of accolades. Again, Chagrin has a long tradition of academic excellence. So this was a way for us to showcase some of those things. As awards come in, as things change, obviously we'll adjust this, but we thought this was a nice place to showcase it. And then just at the very bottom, we have links to our app, as well as how to get in contact with us. If I were to go to the school pages, you'll see everything from the attendance line, things like that. One last thing to look at before we talk about the app. It is way harder to do this than I thought it was going to be. So I mentioned the menu before, but a couple other things to look at. Again, along the top, quick links to news. So all the news items going on in the district, as well as the school level. Events will take you back to the calendar. Dining takes you to the menu. But what I really wanted to focus on was documents. So this was another area that we felt like things got lost in the shuffle in the previous website. So by going to documents, again, it changes per building, but you can very easily find things that you're looking for. Everything from employment to health services, registration, all of those things can be found very easily in here. So that's the new website in a nutshell. The other thing I wanted to talk about, I'm going to set this
Mike,
down.
Before you move on, can you show real quick how to go to the board page and then to
Of
the
course I can.
agendas and
So I'm going to go back to home. And when I click menu, over here under Board of Education on the left-hand side, we've got a list of the members, the meeting dates, which I'm going to click on real quick. And then if you're looking for the agenda, the minutes and policy, this will take us over to board docs, which has all of that stuff in there. So again, trying to make these things more transparent, very easy to find for parents. Again, all of the website, everything we've done has all been based on community feedback. Charlene, huge thank you to Charlene. I know you're watching. Huge thank you to Charlene. She spent a ton of time going through all of this, working with people, cleaning up pages, really trying to make our website something to be proud of. The other thing that I don't have in front of me to show you is the app. So if you go to the website, at the lower right-hand corner at the bottom of the website, there are links to the app for both the iPhone and Android-based devices. What the app does, it's kind of like a quick view into the website. And the way I would describe it is if you're looking for the lunch menu or a calendar or just the quick news items, all of those can easily be found on the app. The staff directory is there too. It's great for quick things. If you're looking to dive into something deeper, like board policy or gifted or curriculum or things like that, that's when you're going to want to go back to the website. So the app is great. Again, it's super quick on your phone to find that calendar. We know we heard that one a lot, was the calendar was big. So we've made all of that really easy to find. So far, we've had 600 people download the app. It only went live about 3 weeks ago, so we're pretty excited about that. One of the things that's going to happen very, very soon is we're going to start using the app for push notifications. So if we want to remind people about things going on, everything from first day of school or spare day or anything like that. Yes, we have social media, we have Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, but we can also push it directly to people's phones. So we're really excited to have that too. So that will start going out very, very soon here in the next couple of weeks.
Can people sort of choose what notifications they want?
You
Like,
can. So when
just
you go
tell
in,
me there's a snow
yep.
day, nothing else.
Yep.
Thing.
Sort of, you can choose by building.
Okay.
So a snow day would go out to everybody.
Yeah.
But if you only wanted to get, say, you only had students in the middle school and you just wanted to get middle school items, you could choose to do that inside the app.
And can anybody download the app?
Anybody can download the app. It's a free
So
app.
the crossing guards can do that and then. they'll
Yes,
get
they can.
notified of-
Yes.
And this is something that you explained to me already, but just in case anyone else has the same question, right now, if you get lazy like I do and just Google something like Sugar and Falls summer reading, the first link that comes up is broken. And you're saying that's like a Google thing that they have to fix, but you're aware of.
Yeah. So basically what has happened is because we've launched a new website, all of the pages have changed. Unfortunately for us, Google has not re-indexed our site yet. So when you do a search, some of the search results pull pages from the old website that no longer exists. I have listed our site in Google to be re-indexed, but it does take some time. Again, if you're ever running into a problem, you can't find something, the best thing to do, just go to chagrinschools.org. And I actually didn't even show this off, but on the main page, we have a search button right here. So if I wanted to search for parking, for example, I can search that and that will pull up everything on the current site that's relevant to parking. Again, a lot easier than going through Google. So again, chagrinschools.org. The app on both the app and the Google Play Store is just listed as Chagrin Falls Schools. Yeah, we're really excited. I'm very, very proud of this website. And we've heard nothing but great things so far. Questions, comments, thoughts?
No, I think that's what you're going to hear from us are great things. Really, really nice job. It's really streamlined. I love that there's search magnify. What do you call that icon for searching?
The little magnifying glass?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, I don't think the old website had that and it was.
It did, but you know, the old website, so one of the things that I love about this website is on the previous website, if we replaced a file that was already up there and you searched, you could still find the old file. So one of the biggest problems we would load the high school schedule, for example. And then the following year we would load the new schedule. But if you searched, you could find the old one. And that was really cumbersome and parents were not happy.
Right.
The way this particular site works, it doesn't work like that. When that file is reloaded, the old one goes away. Behind the scenes, there are some really great features. Webmaster, myself, Charlene, we get to see who's clicking on what files. So if we find that, wow, 500 people are looking for this file, we can adjust it and make it more visible. From Charlene's side of the house, when she goes to post something, she can post it on the website, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all with one click. So it's very, very simple. But again, all of our social media is pulling back to the website. So the goal is to really make this kind of our central hub for all of our communications.
If someone had feedback for you, is there a method on the site to do that, or should they?
I believe down at the bottom, it says it's got, I think it's got contact.
Okay.
I'm gonna quick look. News, you can send it to news@sugarinschools.org. That's a great way, or you can just send it to mike@sugarinschools.org.
Okay.
Again, and if anybody's watching has feedback, we are still adjusting. There are some things that we've seen as we've gone on. We've added some links, we've removed some links. So if you're seeing something out there that you want to see change, please feel free to reach out because we'd be happy to look at it. All right. Thank you.
Nice.
Thanks.
My comment, that type of work related, how are we doing with regards to parents signing their forms and having them ready for opening on 18?
So then it's actually going. That's actually going really well. Real quick, we updated our process this year. All of our forms go through, or all of our academic forms go inside of Infinite Campus now. We did that to really streamline our process. Behind the scenes, what you weren't seeing, because there was a lot of double entry of data. So it would be entered into final forms by the parents, and then we had to hand enter it into campus. It was cumbersome. We worked for a number of years to try to bridge that thing, which just wasn't possible. So we moved everything into Infinite Campus. It's really streamlined it. A lot of good feedback. It's also brought to our attention a number of different errors inside people's different records, things like that. I don't have the exact number of where we are in terms of getting that complete.
Okay.
But I've heard nothing great things there too. People are signing. Actually, a little bit easier in my opinion to go through this route.
Yeah, I mean, I went through it and I thought it was fantastic, but let us know if you need help messaging out so that, Thursday morning, we don't have.
I might even send push just something.
All right, this is the part of our agenda that, where we invite public participation. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board? Seeing none.
No,
I will-
Gary
Oh,
raises hand.
Gary, sorry, you're blocked for me. Okay, that's okay.
She has to read her little thing first,
Yeah.
so.
The purpose of the Board of Education meeting is for the board to conduct its business. Board meetings are held in public and are non-public forum. The discussion of agenda items is intended to be among board members, not a discussion. of the public. Public participation section of the agenda is an opportunity for citizens to address the board. Community members who contact the superintendent in advance of the meeting may be provided an opportunity to speak first. Public comment is limited to 30 minutes. Each participant will have 3 minutes to speak. No person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. Remember, this is a formal and official meeting of the board, and say becomes part of the official meeting of the board. If your comment involves a problem with a student, employee, or board member, please do not address them by name. Keep in mind, we are meeting in a schoolhouse and possibly in the presence of students. Following your public comment, if you have specific questions, please email the superintendent at jennifer.pinzarski@sugarinschools.org.
I'll be quick. Gary Welch, 84 South Main Street. I am a community member. First thing, I want to commend the transportation department and the full administration for trying out cameras on stop arms. People blowing through red lights is very dangerous, and without a camera on the stop arm, there's almost no chance to catch anybody. So I commend you for that. And the other thing, real quick, if you guys looked at printing this on both sides of the page, this is a pretty big packet. We're talking about a new recycling program. Less to recycle is probably a good thing too. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, all right. I will make a motion for board recommendation 6.1. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Ashley, please take the roll.
Mrs. Bros,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yeah.
Dr. Schlepper.
Yes.
I move to adopt consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.10. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Ashley, please take the roll.
Going too fast, hold on. So I didn't have anything, the roll was not typed on the 6.01, so I had to write it all down. Okay, who seconded that? I'm sorry.
I did, Lauren.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mrs. Bros,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yeah.
Dr. Schlepper.
Yes.
I will turn the meeting back over to Jennifer for the superintendent's recommendation. Oh, first I need a motion. I will move to adopt superintendent's recommendations 8.1 through 8.7. Second.
I'll second.
Um, I'm sorry. Jennifer, would you like to walk us through these items?
Absolutely. And Gary, I agree. We still need to work on a way to shrink this a little bit because I flipped through the pages and tried to find where we're at. So we're working on that. On 8.02, we have the certified personnel contracts. Just remember, certified personnel under this section, you're going to find teacher contracts for the upcoming year. You'll also find substitute teacher contracts under this section. And so this would be to fill open positions. The permanent building sub, remember we talked about in those previous meetings, are the positions that we created for each building so that they have a sub every day for an entire year. They have top priority for any opening. They would take that position, but that gives us continuity for both our instructional practices, our culture, and our students. For item 8.03, these are our classified personnel. You think of this as our Ofcc contract personnel and on this agenda, we have office aides, bus drivers, student support aides tonight that we're hiring. You'll also see the classified position substitutes. So any of those classifications can have a substitute. You'll also find unpaid volunteer coaches under the section of classified personnel contracts. If you flip to 804, this is where the resignations fall for classified personnel, and we had 2 of those. Jamie Briggs worked at the high school and Vicky Powers worked at Gurney. And these are both educational aid positions. And I would just like to mention, we do have some classified position openings still. So if someone is interested in a classified position for the district, I think they're posted on our website. And we would like you to check that out if you're interested. 8.05 are certified personnel additional hours. So think of this as teachers that get additional pay for additional training. So there's professional development that these teachers need for some kind of instructional service that they're providing throughout the year. 8.06 would be the same thing for our classified personnel. You'll primarily find this for educational assistance. So they're providing some kind of specialized service to students, and therefore they need extra hours for extra training. 8.07 is community ed. This would be to approve instructors for different programming that we offer for student enrichment. I think that would be all of the recommendations from me. So are there any questions about those classifications or recommendations?
Ashley, please do the roll.
Mrs. Bros,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Dr. Schlepper.
Yes.
I move to approve treasurer's recommendations 9.2 and 9.3. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley, would you walk us through these?
Absolutely. 9.02 is the $1,000 stipend payment to the Ofcc members. This was, just as a reminder, this was negotiated during the negotiations for the last round, which occurred in spring. This is prorated based on the number of hours that an employee works. So if they're not a full-time employee, they work 3.5 hours instead of 7. They will receive $500 instead of 1,000. So it'll be prorated. Anything else I left out? Anybody who was there during negotiations wants to say?
Mike, are you aware that your screen is still up? Okay,
Good. Nothing up there. Nothing. Confidential.
He's gonna present for me.
sorry, I didn't mean
He's
to.
trying to catch up. Okay, so then moving on to 9.03. These are the monthly financial reports, being that it was June. I am gonna do this a little bit different. The monthly financial reports are attached to the agenda. I know you've had those numbers, so those are all in there if you want to see detail. But I know that sometimes people see things in a different way. Different people like different types of graphs, so I kind of have a variety in here to try to get the picture through and everybody to understand what's happening. So this first chart here is the summary of the general fund. So this is very similar to the chart that you see when we do the 5-year forecast. I just only have 22 up here. First column is the estimated amount that is based on our last 5-year forecast that we approved in May. Second column is the actual numbers, and then just a variance column there just for you to kind of, if you're had in your head one number and you're on that number, now you can see the variance is right there for you. So you can see we're $98,966 better than we thought we would be when we passed that forecast. So you can see their revenues were a little bit under. Expenditures came in also a little bit under. That's a positive variance. Confusing there to get the math to work. And then the annual surplus, we're $300,000 better than we thought we would be, and that's on the cash side. And then our encumbrances, you can see initially we thought we would have about $400,000 in encumbrances. We have $595,000 in encumbrances. So the unencumbered balance, we are $100,000 to the good. So that's fantastic. The encumbrances, that's just timing. So those were things that purchase orders were out there. Going through the end of the year, we close all of the blanket purchase orders. But if somebody has something on order that has not come in yet, obviously we're not going to close the purchase order because we've placed the order. So those just remain open, and then they'll get paid in fiscal 23. So it'll show up in the actual 23 numbers. Moving on to general fund revenue. This is the same graph that I've been using for a couple years now. We can see that property taxes obviously is our largest revenue source. We know that, but I think it's a good reminder. Typically, when we do the 5-year forecast, I'll show you what this looks like now compared to what it looked like 5 years ago. Our reliance on property taxes does continue to increase as other funding sources continue to decrease. It's just the way Ohio school finance works right now. But right there is the breakdown. You can see where all of our money comes from. I also like to show this one because I know that there's a perception out there that we get a lot of money from the state. And if you look at that lavender colored portion there, that's the foundation money that we're getting from the state. So you can see that that's not a very large portion of our general fund revenue. So I just like to point that out.
Which is both good and bad. Be nice to have more support from the state, but it also diminishes the amount of variability that worry about having.
Yeah. So Mike, do you have is this the PDF or the? Okay. These are a little bit out of order from what I had in my head that they were going to be. So again, we're talking revenue here. This is just a column chart just to show you in comparison to previous years, our revenue in total is going up. That is because we all know we passed that levy in 2020. We knew that was going to happen. And it's not significant, but it is slightly increasing. So that orange bar is where we are for fiscal 22, and then those gray are the last 3 years. Moving on to expenditures, in the same format here as we present the revenue, people like to see where we spend our money. I know I sound like a broken record, and I say this every single time I do any kind of financial presentation, but it is expected that the most of our expenditures, the largest portion, is going to be our salaries and our benefits. That's our people. That's how we provide instruction. That's how we educate our children, is through our people. So you can see there that lighter blue and then the red are obviously the largest portions of our expenditures, and that's to be expected. Purchase services there, that lavender color, is the next largest. That is sort of a miscommunication in the way that they've labeled that. I don't like the the term purchase services, because it's not always necessarily purchasing a service. These are not just things that we don't feel like doing ourselves. A lot of these are things that are mandated. So special education services that are much more feasible to do through purchasing the service rather than employing a full-time person to do something. In addition, these are tuitions, all of these things that are deducted from our foundation payment at the state level. Those get classified as a purchase service. So that's not all services that we're purchasing, but it goes in that category according to the state.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
So were you talking the foundation part?
Yeah, you said tuition and. I
So
thought that the formula changed so that it wasn't being deducted for what we were getting anymore.
So that I'm talking about tuition programs. So when we're sending a student out to a program to be educated,
Mhm.
mostly special education situations,
Okay.
that's not the community. Are you talking community
Right,
schools?
right.
That it used to be in there. That is not an expenditure anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, that's direct funding.
I thought maybe there was an element of it that was still there that I wasn't
That's
aware
a
of.
much larger conversation. Of course, there's an element in there, but no, it's not a dollar amount that I can say we brought in this much and we sent this much out to community schools anymore. Okay. So this is if you took that circle chart that we were just looking at and folded it out and laid it flat. The colors actually match. So if you're looking at them and you're trying to compare, I made it all match. So it's just another way to look at it, separating it out. The light blue is still, salaries and wages, benefits. You can still see that the largest portion of our expenditures is our people. This is comparing it though to the prior 3 years. So you can see our expenditures have gone up. Of course, that's also to be expected, but overall, over the 3-year time period, you can see it's not significant. We're doing lots to control our costs. I pulled this one out and made it separate only because salaries and wages is our largest expenditure, of course. And I think sometimes there's a narrative in public schools that we're top heavy and that, we spend so much money on administration and all these other things. So I shaded these so that you could see regular instruction and special education instruction. So you can see that the largest part of even our salaries, so salaries is a portion of our expenditures, and then this is breaking our salaries down into the separate portions. You can see that our instructional expenditures on salaries are much larger than any other expenditure. And I have those numbers. If you're actually looking at the actual report that is in and is attached to the agenda, and these numbers are taken directly from that spreadsheet. If you calculated all these little percentages out, you would see it ties exactly to that report. So if there's any questions anybody has or anything they want to see to dig deeper into any of this, I'm always happy to go through this and create additional graphs and charts for anybody who wants them. But I just like to point out, because we kind of get a bad rap in public education all throughout the state about the amount of money that we spend on salaries and wages, because it doesn't look like a business, because we're not a business. This is very similar to two graphs ago or 2 slides ago. Again, comparing it to the prior 3 years. But I wanted to point out that over a 3-year period, we've had a 1.6% increase. That's in 3 years. So I think, we've really done our job. We've really worked hard to keep those expenditures as lean as possible. And I think it's evidenced by a 1.6% increase over a 3-year period. So this is a picture of the fund balance in the general fund. Again, we're still talking just general fund. Orange is current year, gray, like the other charts, is the prior 3 years. We are higher in our cash balance, and that's because of where we are in that levy cycle. After you pass a levy, your cash balance goes up. We do this whole stair stepping thing that I talk about often. Every time I do a 5-year forecast, I explain that. So at the beginning of your levy cycle, you're bringing in more than you're spending. but that level that you're bringing in stays flat. And then as your expenditures increase, it matches it, it catches up to it, and then it exceeds it. And then that's where you get to the end of the levy cycle and then you start over. So right now we are at the beginning of that levy cycle still, we're still in the positive. So you'll see as the years go by, that sort of line will kind of go up and down every year. The other thing I thought it was important to point out, because benefits is our second largest expenditure, is what we've done to control the cost there. So in January of 21, we switched to the self-insurance model. I know this is another thing I've talked about a lot, but that line graph right there is the picture of what that self-insurance fund has done over the 2 years or year and a half period. And does that say? Okay, I have to fix those labels. I apologize. That is not 21 there at the end where it says May and June of 21. I did not see that. That's May and June of 22. But that is, the line is correct. The labels on the bottom are not. I will fix that. Anyway, I'd like to point out that this is what we said would happen. This is what we hoped would happen. We are now in a place in that self-insurance fund where I'm comfortable with that balance. That's probably right around where we want to kind of hover. So when we go into next year, when we go into January and we are looking in the fall at what we're going to take as an increase in our rates on our medical insurance, we're going to be in a good position. So the 5-year forecast is going to look better, and our expenditures are going to look better because, you know, the district pays the largest portion of those medical benefits. So when we have money in this self-insurance fund, then we have money to pay those claims. So we don't have to take as large of an increase. So the next year we won't have to bring in as much because we've got it sitting in there. And we have enough to cover what our expected claims would be. So that was a very long explanation, I know. So there's a lot more information in those monthly reports. All of the same reports that we do every month are in there. I wanted to present more on a higher level because it is the end of a fiscal year. So if anybody has any questions or comments or would like to see anything additional, please contact me and my email address is up there. Any questions from the board? Mhm.
Our next meeting.
We need to go.
Oh, sorry.
Mrs. Bros.
Yeah.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey.
Yeah.
Mrs. Miller.
Yeah.
Dr. Schlepper.
Yes.
Our next meeting is Wednesday, September 7th at 5:30 in the Sands Community Room. It's a work session. I move to enter into executive session in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22 for the sole purpose of the consideration of the following matters. To consider one or more as applicable, employment and compensation of a public employee or official. Could I have a second?
I'll second.
We do not plan to.
We will not take any action.
We will not take any action coming out of executive session. Ashley, could you please take the roll?
Mrs. Bros.
Yeah.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yeah.
Dr. Schlepper.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have the conference room reserved.